Can you imagine having access to over 100 acres of land that belongs to you, and you have the money, the resources to go purchase the latest equipment to help you work the land? You bring the equipment to that particular land, and the equipment is supposed to help you work the land. But whenever you try to use the equipment, it only manages to work for a few yards and then it breaks down. And for the entire time that you own the equipment, it has never helped you work the entire land. And I'm sure as a business person, you'll think this is quite devastating, right? You'll think that you've been robbed. But here's the thing. When it comes to potential, your potential is that equipment that can help the companies out there, that can help the business out there, that can help the economy out there make great things happen. But because the potential is not being used, or because the instrument, the vehicle is not being used to its full potential, it's not covering all the land. It's only covering a few yards and it's breaking down. So when it comes to cost, it's costing the company, it's costing the local economy, it's costing the country lots of money, billions of dollars in lost revenue. Why? Because you are not working to your full potential. Your potential is much more important than you can possibly imagine. So the question is, now that you know how amazing that you can be, now that you know that you carry potential, how can you go from just knowing to actualizing your potential? That's the question that most of us have to face for quite a long time. And many people actually go to the grave without having had access to the answer. But here's the funny thing. Someone will simply say, yes, it's about awareness. I would say to some degree, yes. But knowing is only half the battle. Let me tell you why. Because there are many people who are aware of what they're carrying. They are aware of the greatness they are carrying, but they never amount to anything. They spend their entire life just imagining the possibilities, going to school, going to different workplaces, different companies, but never amounting to anything. Why? Because they are still work in progress. They never reach a place where the full potential is now on display. So I would simply say awareness is a beginning, but awareness is only half the battle, because there's much more that you have to consider when it comes to unlocking your full potential. And this is what this video is all about. Before we get to the strategy as to how to unlock your potential, let me just start with a story. In 1971, a young man by the name of Tim Galway, a university grad from Harvard, was taking a break, was taking a sabbatical, and was helping a local tennis club with the local talents when it comes to coaching them. One day, as he was coaching a group of tennis players, he realized that while he was there present, monitoring what was happening on the court, the performance was actually so slow, not that great. But as soon as he will move from the stand and go somewhere else, he will come back and see that the result was actually phenomenal. That the player were now playing at a completely different level. So he did the experiment. He tried to leave and come back 2 or 3 times and realized that the same thing was happening. Then at the end of the game, he pulled all the students aside and simply started talking to them. And he started asking them a question. But why is it that when I'm around, you're not playing as well as when I'm not around? What was happening as far as your own game was concerned? And back then, of course, there was no book when it comes to coaching and so on and so forth. So he started discussing with the tennis players until basically this conversation gave birth to a body of work that eventually 3 years later will give birth to a book called The Inner Game of Tennis. And from this book, Game of Tennis, many other books came to be born and eventually came to give us the beginning of the structure of this thing that we know today as coaching. The key argument that Tim Galway had in his book was the following. He realized that as far as the players were concerned, the potential was there, the awareness was there, but as long as the Tim Galway was present, they weren't actually performing at the top level. And when he would disappear, he realized that they were actually performing better. So when he came to realize is that there was simply something blocking them. And that one thing that was blocking them was simply the enemy within. That there was something blocking them from actually fully manifesting all they were actually meant to be as far as tennis is concerned. And that came to give him the idea of developing the idea of coaching these people at an elite level. And this idea went on to revolutionize the way that we do many things, including business. Why it is particularly important? Because here's a strategy. When it comes to unlocking it for your potential, here are the first things you have to consider. Number one, of course, you have to be aware of the potential that you're carrying in this particular field of yours. That's number one. Number two, you need to identify a coach or a mentor who's going to help you access to the right feedback when it comes to improving your game. That's number two. Number three, you have also to develop above and beyond the formal structure of coaching and mentorship. You also have to develop a structure we call your tribe. The tribe of like-minded people who know exactly what your vision is and who are going now to help you manifest this vision. They are going to simply help you be accountable when it comes to the vision. Because unless and until you come to a place where you are surrounded by people who are like-minded, well, here's what's going to happen. You are going to be slowly but surely reverting to the old self. Here's how it goes. Everyone has a former self, which is based on a combination of many things that have happened to you in the past. Unfortunately, when it comes to our performance, it is always determined by the old self. And the idea of the old self now tend to direct our performance as far as life is concerned. So when you come to the place of awareness of your potential, you are trying to do good, but somehow you keep going back to the same old place because somehow you are fused, so one with the old self that you can get away from it. So what it will take for you to actually start moving away from it is simply a community of people who are simply going to tell you that was your former self, that was the past, it is now the future. As much as you used to be connected to the past, I would like for you now to develop a sense of loyalty as far as your future is concerned. Develop now a sense of loyalty as far as your ideal vision is concerned. As they're holding you accountable, slowly but surely you are now start going to break away from your old self and now start manifesting more of the ideal self or the potential that you are carrying. Here's now the final bonus I would like to put on the table for you. Unlocking your potential is not a one-time job. It's a shift that will require many macro shifts. And in order for this macro shift to happen is you have to go through the process of awareness on a daily basis. You have to work with your coaches, your mentors almost as often as possible. You have to maintain that discipline of working within a community of like-minded people who are going to hold you accountable. Last but not least, you simply have to make sure that you become aware of where you're going and give yourself permission to start developing a greater sense of loyalty as far as the future is concerned. Because the more you be saying yes to the future, the more you be saying no to the past. And here's the beautiful thing. There's going to be time where from the former self is going to show up. There's going to be moments where basically you're going to be tempted to simply revert back to the old ways. And when you catch yourself doing these kind of things, simply practice non-judgment. Allow for this thing to happen and observe. Allow that moment of impaired judgment to happen and observe. Don't be too hard on yourself, because the more you give it permission just to be and you don't resist it, the more it's simply going to start falling and simply disappearing from your life. And before you know it, you're going to become so addicted to the new self that your former self will have absolutely no influence when it comes to your performance. And that's how slowly but surely you are going to become the Michael Jordan of your generation. Here is a funny thing. Michael Jordan, when he became Michael Jordan, he had to simply find a way now to fall in love with the new self and to simply say no to the old self. It didn't happen just in one game. It happened over time, because what? He simply understood that yes, I have to become aware of what I'm carrying. I have to work with coach and mentors. I have to surround myself with like-minded people. I have to simply give myself permission to now to fall in love with the future. And last but not least, I simply have to give myself permission to practice non-judgment. Whenever I get back to walking the same old-fashioned way, I'm simply going to allow and observe the old self trying to take over. But the more I'm going to let this old self try to take over without judgment, the more the old self is going to realize that yes, I have no business left as far as this new entity is concerned. I'm therefore going to let King Michael Jordan rule. And that's how slowly but surely he came to become the iconic player that we know today, and the man that came to revolutionize the world of basketball. Alright, I'm gonna stop right here. Before I go, just a couple of things. If you enjoy this kind of thought that if you enjoy this kind of content, all I'm simply going to ask you to do is just two things. Number one, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Why? Because the next time we put together a video, I want you to be amongst the first one to see the content. Alright, last but not least, I just want to remind you that you are carrying a measure of significance. But then for that measure of significance to be manifested, you have to pay attention to your potential. You have to go on to simply become more aware of what you're carrying. You have to start working with your coach, your mentors. You have to start building a community of like-minded people around you. You have to make sure that yes, you fall in love more with where you're going as opposed to where you used to be. And last but not least, you simply have to simply give yourself permission to practice non-judgment. Alright, whenever you catch yourself thinking the old-fashioned way or feeling the old-fashioned way, simply allow it to simply observe and simply and to be without a judgment. And slowly but surely you're going to come to realize that your old self will have absolutely no business being there, and your new self is simply going to take over, and the potential that you carry is now going to go on to work the land, to work the community the way it was so designed to do. Alright, much love everyone. I'm out. Take good care.